I did Mad Max 6 for JTV and I had the great honor to be in Mr. Olympia's house, Shawn Rhoden. Shawn, thanks for having us in your home.
As always, it's a pleasure speaking to you, Dave Mad Max. Why do they call you Mad Max?
Good question. That's because when I was working for Max Muscle, the emblem or the logo of the Max Muscle was called, it was like an Indian with the hair, I don't know if you remember, and it was called Mad Max.
Yeah.
And I had a car, and I wanted to call the license Mad Max since I was working for Max Muscle. But Mad Max 1 was taken, 2, 3, 4, 5 was taken until Mad Max 6, and that's why I chose Mad Max.
So now you've got the 6 now.
Yeah.
After Eric was like, oh, it's Mad Max.
That's right. Stan made it today. Came all the way to Oxnard to be with us. I appreciate you coming.
Of course.
It was nice. We just came back from the gym. We actually had a great chest training workout with you guys. It was great after this quarantine to be back in the gym and film you guys. It just had some flashback from the old days. That goes on. So thanks for having me here today and documenting the day. And we wanted to do this interview. Actually, Shawn asked me, which was the first reason why I came here today, because he had some things to say and he wanted to do an exclusive interview with JTV. And I'm going to let him tell you guys before we start why you wanted me to come here today, why you asked me here today, without going too much into the whole thing.
For those that knows me, know I don't let anything really bothers me or gets to me. And at times I tend to keep my mouth shut.
Almost too much.
Because I understand that sometimes there are people that just, they love to hear themselves talk, and just not my thing. But when I'm bothered, when I'm getting, I'm gonna use the word, bullshit DMs constantly for a long period of time, where I try to turn a blind eye, I try to ignore, and it's just getting to the point where I'm tired. I'm at my wind's end, whatever you want to call it, wit's end, and I'm just tired. I'm tired and I'm pissed off, and I figure out the only way to put this to rest. I wanted to call you out and just say, hey, listen, this is a one-time thing. I'm not going to go back and forth with this. But I just want to clear the air because I have not said a word. Because I consider the person to be a friend. And I still do. So I don't understand why this is going on the way it is. But I want to put this to an end. I don't want to talk about this anymore. And I hate the fact that someone deemed themselves that because I don't speak up and I'm known not to say anything, that it's okay to just go on and just keep on changing your story and making me look bad. I don't care if anybody wants to make me look bad, but when I'm constantly being bothered about the same thing that I know, Stan knows. Because basically we're the 3 people that's mainly involved. And because we don't say anything out of respect and out of friendship, that doesn't mean that this needs to be dragged on any more than it is.
Got it. Okay. So the reason why Stan is here also, we have to say in part of this interview, is because some of these facts or some of these reasons you're talking about, sometimes you are missing this information and actually had to come from Stan. So I want people to understand why you're here in this interview and why it's not Sean's, because this is like a whole he said, she said kind of like a telephone thing a little bit.
Well, first of all, it was the trio. Chris, Psycho, Louis, and Sean and myself, we were training all 3 of us together. So it was like a dynamic with all 3 of us.
Yeah.
We can get more into details a little later, but that's how,
So there was 3 people involved.
Yeah, so we were the 3 of us involved.
Yeah.
So we were all witness of each other. And that's the whole dynamic. We were just, it was, relaying things from one to the other and, addressing things with everyone, talking, one side to the other part, and just, Sean and I trying to accomplish things, Psycho trying to do his best to helped us to like achieve like the things we're trying to set ourselves up to achieve, and that's what the communication always been like. We're like, oh, do we need to be pushed more? And then we ask stuff like we want to do more like compound exercise, whatever it was. We always like it's the three of us like gathering and communicating together. So that's why.
Okay, so I want to say right from the beginning that when you called me to ask me to do this interview, I made it clear to you that I'm a friend of all of you guys. I love you guys like brothers. I'm a fan of yours. I'm a fan of yours. I very much like Chris Cycle Fitness. We feature on the channel very often. But I also feel like everyone has the right to tell their story in their own world. And that's why we're here today. So you can actually, because you haven't said anything for so long, and that's why, we're going to go over this, the whole entire kind of separation from the Olympia. Nobody really knows what happens after you guys won the Olympia, and that's kind of what we want to talk about today. Because even for people like me who are considered on the inside, I don't even know what happened and why.
We don't even know.
Yeah, we're going to talk about that. So we're going to go back a little bit, and I feel like today is a good day for you to be able to tell your story and tell your version of the event, and then people can make up their own mind after that. Once it's out there.
I mean, I want to say also myself, like I still appreciate Chris. I just don't understand why because he's been putting his truths out there, and like to this day, like I've been commenting back and forth with him. Like I don't know what happened. I've asked Golgym. They said it's private between them, so they can't say anything to me.
Right.
So the only version I had was his version.
Right.
And we're gonna go
over that
later, but.
So before we talk about the whole thing with the Olympia and Chris and everything, and we get into the meat and potato thing, I want to talk, Shawn, about when officially you and Dexter, but mostly you because I got you here, the big switch between training with Charles Glass for many years. This is why you moved to Venice. You moved to Venice to train at Goals, to train with Charles Glass. It was a big deal for you to actually find a new trainer and hire a new trainer such as Chris Cycle. Can you tell us a little bit the reason why you actually made that transition and why you went from Charles to Chris? Because most people, I don't even think, know.
Okay, so I moved to LA back in 2013. Actually, I came out here to train because of Charles. I've known him for many years before I was a pro bodybuilder. And he's always said to me, hey, why don't you come out and try and work with me for a little bit and see if you like it. And at the time, and he'll tell you this, I said, you know what, I'm not at that level. I don't think I'm worthy for you to train me. You're Charles Glass. I don't think I'm at the level of, the Flex Wheeler, the Chris Camille, and so on. So I used to see him at all these expo, and we developed a relationship, and he kept saying, just come out and just try me for a little bit. So January 2013, I came out and I wanted to do a workout video, and I reached out to Charles and I said, hey, listen, this would be a great opportunity. I haven't trained in months since the 2012 Olympia, and I want to get back into the gym. I was just training, but I want to highlight it. I want to do a video of, getting back into just lifting weights. And he says, yeah, come on out. So I contacted a buddy of mine, Bruce, who does the Battle of the
Oh yeah, he bought the helmet from this.
Exactly. And he came out and he videotaped the whole thing. I loved it. I thought, Charles just beat the crap out of me. So I went back home, and less than a week later, I was back in LA and started training with Charles. I met Chris Lewis because he was working with Charles, and he was always there. And I have videos from Battle of Olympia with, him training with Charles and pushing me and spotting me and so forth. And we had a great relationship because I'm not one to talk during the workout, and I love the fact that they'll just hand me a weight and I do it. He said, do this, I'm doing it. I'm like, okay. I love that the extra push where it's not complicated and none of that. So that's how I met Chris. We even lived in the same building, and I would see him in the morning when I go downstairs to do cardio, and I just give him a nod, and that's just me. Like, what's up? See you later. And it was a good mix. Well, anyway, back in 2016, after the Olympia, I decided that I wanted to as always, get the rust off and, go back to the gym and start training. So I was going at odd times. I was going like at sometime at night, sometime in the morning, sometime in the afternoon. I was in there one night and this guy walked up to me and he said, "Oh, so I guess the reason why you're training at night is because you owe Charles money." And I was like, I was caught off guard. I was like, "What do you mean?" He's like, "Well, I heard that you're hiding from Charles Glass because you owe him $30,000. And I kind of laughed and I was like, oh really? I went on about my business. So I heard it like twice after that. And anybody that knows me, I hate owing people anything. Anything, no matter what, it could be a dime. I hate the feeling of knowing that somebody is like, Shawn owe me. It kills me. So I was like, okay. And I heard it from a really good friend of mine. And I was like, is this really true? Like, so me being me, I reach out to Charles. First time I asked Charles, Charles says, Shawn, I don't know where this came from. You don't owe me anything. You've always taken care of me, even when I don't want your money, you put it in my pocket and run. He goes, I don't know where this come from. You don't owe me anything. I said, fine, no problem. And I went on about my ways. I keep going back to the gym and I keep hearing it, and it's bugging me, it's bugging me. So I wrote a check for Charles, and I was carrying it around in my bag for almost a month. Because I'm like, the next time I see Charles, I'm gonna give this to him. So I reach out to him again and I ask him, can you meet me at IHOP? And Lincoln, he goes, yeah. I was like, I just want to talk. I didn't tell him what it was. So we met at IHOP. We had breakfast. And then I looked him in the eye and I was like, Charles, I've known you for a very long time. You've been like a mentor. You've been a father figure. I have the utmost respect for you. But I keep going into Ghost Gym and this bothers me because this is where I come to train, my therapy and everything else. And I keep hearing that I owe you $30,000. I pulled out a check and I said, here you go. I was like, it's for peace of mind, I just want to train. And he goes, I can't take your money, Shawn. What are you talking about? Like, I've never said you owe me anything. And he said, I've made reference that, such and such owes me money. And he was talking about, I guess, a magazine that he used to sponsor him, or he used to write for. He goes, but I've never said that you owe me money. He was like, I don't know where people get this thing from. I was like, and it doesn't matter, Charles. Here's a check, $30,000. And he goes, Shawn, keep your money. I don't want your money. You and I have a different kind of relationship. And I was like, are you sure? And he goes, yeah, just forget about it. Let's just focus and get it ready for 2017. And he gave me back my check. I threw it in my gym bag. We chit-chat some more, laugh, and we're talking about the upcoming season, 2017, and we had a good talk. And I told him, I was like, the next time that I hear that, he said that I owe him money, I probably left goals. I never really hear again that he said anything about me owing him money.
Okay.
And we were good. As I said, I have a lot of respect for Charles Glass. He was the reason why I moved to LA. It just happened, I broke my jaw. I moved to Santa Barbara. And, my daughter's Santa Barbara. I was going back and forth from LA to Santa Barbara. And after a while, that gets very tiresome. So I was talking to Chris. And when I broke my jaw, I actually reached out to Chris because we live in the same building. I had a blender that Chris Aceto, I reached out to Chris Aceto first, told him I broke my jaw. His first response was, do you have a blender? I had a blender, but it wasn't like a power blender. So I was just like, every time I try to grill my steak after I cook it, because I had to drink to a straw, it just wasn't working. So I was coming from the Counter Burger one night and I saw Chris Lewis. And I was, I couldn't speak. So I was like, talking to him like this, and he goes, what happened? I said, I broke my jaw. And I was like, man, I need to find a blender. He said, I have a blender. And he goes, I'll drop it off at your apartment. So he dropped it off. And I was able to, I mean, it was a heavy duty blender. I've actually traveled around the world with that blender. It was like the blender that you used in like a kitchen, like a restaurant kitchen.
Yeah.
And I was thankful because I'm like, man, this is great. So I told him that I was going to move back to Santa Barbara. And, you know, I wanted to train because I was losing weight so quickly. I was going to have surgery, yada, yada, yada. He says, listen, man, I'll drive up. If you need me, I'll drive up and I'll train you. I was like, okay. The first thing I said to him was, how much? Because I wanted to know how much it was going to cost me for him to drive up from LA to come and train me. I found a gym in Oxnard, the World's Gym.
That's right.
And we negotiated a price. Says, this is the price we're going to do. Okay. He reached out to Stan and said, hey, I'm going to be driving to Oxnard to train Shawn. Do you want to come?
I remember.
Yeah.
So you did the drive with him.
So like what happened, I think he came to train you maybe once or twice by himself. And then he saw me in the gym and was like, hey, you know, I'm training Shawn in Oxnard. Like, would you like to, you know, come train with us? And I'm like, yeah, I'd love to.
So what time would you show up at Goals to go and train with
like
Shawn?
6 a.m.
I remember that.
Yeah, 5:30.
So 6 a.m. What time you guys training? 10?
I
No.
drove down.
Seven,
It took me like 40 minutes to drive from Santa Barbara
Okay.
tonight.
Okay.
And they were driving from LA to meet at the World's Gym. And we'll probably train like, I mean, probably 2 hours, sometimes 2.5
2 to
hours.
3
So
hours.
from like 8 to
No, from like
Seven.
from eight to no, yeah. So I would meet. We would leave at 6:30 because I think the traffic at 7 was getting really bad, so we had to leave before that.
Mm-hmm.
So we would leave at 6:30, drive and get there at 8, and we start training at between 8 and 8:30.
Okay.
And then we trained all the way until 11 because it took us another hour to come back, and Chris had to train Dexter at noon.
Yeah. Because I remember showing up at Goals and you were just coming back
Yeah.
anytime. Wow. So, and you did that for how long?
Well, for 4 months.
4 months.
Oh,
Wow.
because he started his prep early because he was like, he lost a lot of muscle.
You were skinny fat.
I was, to be honest, I looked like I didn't even look like I was getting ready for Mr. YMCA. And
You were like 230.
I was, man, I had pictures I would show people and they would probably would look at me and be like, that's not you, because you know, I couldn't eat regular food.
Yeah.
So everything that I was eating was bland.
Ugh.
So your body process liquid
Doesn't absorb
way differently
Yeah,
from
yeah,
solid
yeah,
food.
yeah.
So, I mean, I probably was eating 30,000 calories a day, and I was starving and angry,
Wow.
just all day, But I had some of the best training that year.
Really?
We were in sync. We were lifting heavy. We were doing
Basic.
just a lot of basic movement, and you know, I loved it. You know, and you know.
That was Chris' old approach. He wanted to do like the old school, heavy duty, like all the hard stuff.
I remember him talking
And we were
about
like, that was so fun because we were like, I remember the first back workout. We started like with pull-ups, then with the bent over barbell rows, then with the T-bar rows, then one arm dumbbell rows, and then
all the tough stuff.
like all the hard stuff, like back to back to back, and then and then after that we like throw some more like small things for back, and then do arms and some chest pump
Wow.
and like we're going on for 2.5 to 3 hours.
So you actually had a good prep. It was
I
a
had
good,
a
fun
good
prep.
prep. Now the result, I placed 5th because of nobody's fault. I thought I looked phenomenal, and
I mean the pictures in the room
those
was
pictures
insane.
were
It's just
unbelievable.
incredible.
And I was very thankful because I was like, wow, that was a good prep. And
Considering.
during all this time, I never badmouthed Charles Glass, never badmouthed anyone. I had another conversation with Charles Glass, and I even explained to him like, hope there's no hard feelings between you and I. We talk about our daughters, we talk about all sorts of just different stuff, and I explained to him like, I know you weren't going to make the drive to Oxnard to train me. I was like, I've worked with Chris, actually I trained with Chris 1 year. That we actually trained together.
As training partners.
As training partners under Charles. He wasn't just spotting. We actually was like working out together.
Yeah.
And I don't talk, he don't talk, so it was a great combination.
Yeah.
You know, it was just like pick a dumbbell, and you know, I see him do, and he pushes me
He's
because
strong.
he's a strong dude.
Yeah.
And mentally it challenged you because, you know, I'm training with him, and you know, he's old school, and I'm like, you know, fuck, I gotta keep up with this guy, you know, as big as he is. And, you know, it was a good prep. You know, Olympia was over, everything was over, and I went on tour, I did a whole bunch of stuff. I was in China,
2017 was.
end of 2017.
But you were, before you get there, Sean, you were, even though you got fifth, and that's not the place that you were hoping for, you were still happy with
I was
Chris's
happy.
services and what happened.
You know why I was happy? Because I was training with a broken jaw.
Yeah.
I didn't know where I started from.
Right.
I had
Everybody
to-
was like, you should skip the year.
Yeah, everybody was telling me to take the year off, and you know, I had Stan and Chris that was basically beating me up every day. We didn't talk about my broken jaw. It was like, hey, we're here to train. I knew when I started my prep, I looked like I was getting ready for, you know, Mr. YMCA, not even the national level show. So I was very thankful, and I paid Chris. You know, I paid him I think $14,000. You know, to say thank you. And I
he
took care of his
was-
hotel to go to Vegas for the Olympia.
Nice.
You know, because that's just me. I'm like, hey, this, you know what, you guys helped me so much. You know, I really do appreciate you. You know, thank you. Well, anyway, after all that was said, I went on tour with Chris after Olympia to do shows
Yes, you.
with Chris
Mhm.
Aceto. And I did some stuff with my sponsor at the time. I was in China, and I get a text message from Chris Aceto saying, we should do the Arnold 2018. So I reach out to Psycho and I say, hey, Redemption 2018 Arnold Classic. And I came back from China in December, and I immediately start prepping, you know, for the Arnold. Well, that didn't last long because in February I ended up with
6 weeks out.
6 weeks out with 2 bleeding ulcer.
But you were looking your best then.
And I
You
was,
look
I was
great,
looking
yeah.
great. You know, I was just like, wow, this is. And to this day, I tell myself that probably would have been my best look.
Better than the Olympia when you won?
Olympia. Right? Aceto will tell you that too,
Wow.
because he flew.
I
from
remember
Maine
that
for
at the
one day,
firehouse.
less than
Yes,
one day,
I remember that.
because he couldn't believe. And like, I remember the first thing he said to me was like, "You look like a baby elephant."
Baby elephant,
He goes, "It's just so thick and round." You know, right after that, I ended up in the hospital, and I had to pull out, and yeah, it was tough. But anyway,
You were training like twice a day,
first day, yeah.
14 days. We trained like something
21
like.
days. We trained 21 days straight, 2 a day, or
Oh,
something like that.
jeez.
Or yeah, something crazy.
Something crazy. And
Yeah.
it was a great session.
But let me ask you this: were you still living?
And I was off season.
Yeah.
Were you still living? You were still living in Santa Barbara at the time, so you were
So
still
you
living.
rented apartments.
Oh, so this is what happened.
Because
There was-
I remember you being
there
around
was
more.
a flood in Santa Barbara.
Okay.
Oh yeah.
So I took the train
There
down,
was the fires and stuff.
and I stayed at Stan Place.
Okay.
And then I rented like a couple of Airbnbs here and there, and then I rented an apartment in Washington.
Okay.
And
I remember you being local more.
Yeah,
around that
and
time. Okay.
it was great. So then after the Olympia prep was scratch, after the Arnold press was scratch, I packed my stuff and I went back to Santa Barbara. And it was very hard for me to get started for the Olympia. My mindset was just not there. I pretty much was fucked up from, you know, the bleeding ulcer and everything else. And we start to put a lot of stuff in perspective. We start thinking about you have a daughter, and a whole lot of stuff, and
Your health.
you know, your health, you don't know what to do, and you know, I was caught between neutral and first gear, and you know, I was talking to Aceto almost every day, and just trying to get my mind right, like, you know, do I want to compete? And anyway, I went to Hawaii, and when I got back from Hawaii, when I was going to Hawaii, I told Chris that I was going to go to Hawaii with the family, and he said, just go, man, and he gave me a diet, and goes, you know, just try to stick to this diet, and when you get back, if your mind is in it, we'll go. And I got back from Hawaii, and I text Chris, you know, on the flight, and it's like, you know what, I'm good. ready to go. I reached up to Cycle and said, hey, listen, you know what, I'm ready to go back training. And we started training. I was driving from Santa Barbara to LA every day to train.
Well, I remember.
You know, and it was a crazy drive. Like every morning I get up, get my food, drive to LA to train, and
how long? 2 hours?
2 hours, sometimes 2.5 hours, just to get to the gym. You know, because you in that rush hour traffic going there. And, you know, I think we hit a stride where I was so focused and ready to go that I felt as if like we weren't being pushed enough. And I reached out to Stan and I said, you know, is it me, or do you feel as if we train a lot harder in 2017 than we are right now? And he goes, yeah, I think so. And I was like, I don't know, bro. I was like, you know, I feel as if Chris is beating us up so much that I was driving, you know, from Oxnard to LA to Santa Barbara, and I was tired. I was falling asleep, and I was like, even during the Arnold prep of, you know, driving sometimes from, you know, LA back to Santa Barbara, I had to pull over and take a nap.
Wow.
And I was like, you know, I'm not feeling it. So I got in a three-way call. I talked to Chris and Stan. And I told Chris, listen, man, I have a lot of respect for you, but, you know, I don't know, right now, I just feel as if you're not pushing us hard enough.
Well, the thing too is like, because the year before we started early because you had the broken jaw, and that year you went to Hawaii. When you came back, it was already like almost mid-June.
Yeah.
So it was later in the prep. So we were like maybe 14 weeks out from the Olympia. So, and you hadn't been training.
Yeah.
So Chris, that we mentioned, which makes sense. I had been training. So I was training. I was pushing some weights. Well, like he was lowering the weight. He was not trying to do, because he was trying to protect you. No, didn't want to go too fast,
I see.
you know, too heavy, too fast, and you know, make sure your joints, everything. So that was his approach. He wanted to preserve you and build you up, so to not like, you know, hurt yourself.
So that's why he told you on the phone?
Yeah.
You said it in the phone, but I said, listen, Chris, I don't have a lot of time to do it.
Yeah.
I was
And
like,
you're
I'm
like, I'm
gonna
not
be honest.
driving all this.
I don't have a lot of time. You holding my hand and babysitting me. I was like, you know, I'm not that guy. I was like, I'm gonna tell you right now, like, if you want me to work and stay motivated, you're gonna have to kill me. I was like, you're gonna have to take me to the top of the hill and throw me down. Don't hold my hand, don't babysit me. I know the reason why I'm here, and I just want to train. He goes, okay.
That's when Sergi was training with us
Yeah.
too.
He was like, okay.
Sergi Constance.
But I took the day off.
the next day.
It's like, I'm not gonna go. And I guess he beat the crap out of Stan
Yeah.
Surge. You know?
Yeah.
And I was just
So
like,
did you not go on purpose?
I didn't go on purpose.
Right.
Because, you know, like when you tell someone that, you know, their mindset is like, oh, okay, are you showing me up? But I wasn't showing him up. I know what he's capable of doing. And I know he was going to be like, I'm going to hamp it up. And I'm going to give these guys what they asked for.
We had the worst leg
Took the day
day.
off.
It was a brutal leg day.
But then I went back. And,
I remember like the last leg of leg press that we did. Like I never had that. Like the weight. I would rack the weight, and like I started going down, and my leg just let go.
Yeah.
Like I couldn't.
No more control.
Yeah.
Yeah.
but I know what he's capable of. He's, you know, yeah, he's a great trainer.
Yeah.
You know, so I was just like, okay, now we're ready to go. And
Did it change after that? Did
it changed. The tempo
Okay.
changed. Everything changed. And it was good for us. And for me, I was like, okay, we're ready to go. I have to touch this subject because the entire time we're training, I kept saying, you know, I know how much I paid last year. How much is this going to cost me?
Which is a fair question.
It's a fair question. And he goes, don't worry about it, bro. Let's just train. And I did this the entire
You
time.
did have a sponsor then too.
And I didn't have a sponsor, but I wanted to know how much it was going to cost me. And that's just out of fairness because I'm like, I know how much you charge me, and I know how much I paid you.
Right.
So like, what it's going to be. And you go, we worry about that later. Just want to train. I'm like, okay, no problem at all. But I wanted to put that out there so that he knows that I'm not taking advantage of him.
Yeah. You're not expecting
And
him
I'm
to train
not
you for
expecting
free
him to
and-
train me for free.
Yeah, get it.
You know, so he kept just saying, hey, you know what, let's focus on that later. So we trained and we went to the Olympia, you know, and we went to the Olympia as a team. We won, and I didn't win the Olympia by myself. I didn't win the Olympia because of Chris Lewis. I didn't win the Olympia because of Stan. And I didn't win the Olympia because of Chris Aceto. We won the Olympia as a team. And I said that in every single interview that I did. I am thankful for the guys that I was able to surround myself with because they pushed me to the brink of death in order for me to win the Olympia. And I thank every single person because I knew what it took for me to be Mr. Olympia. And I was very thankful. Olympia was over and everything was great. We celebrate, we had fun, we laughed, we talked. And I get a message from Stan.
How long after?
You went on a tour. You went. You like. You said the Olympia. You had
I went on a couple of tours because I went to Prague, and then I went to China, to Sanya.
On your own?
Yeah, I went to Prague, you know, with just as an ambassador from Miss Olympia. I think I met Jay there. Me and Jay had some great conversations, you know, in Prague, and then I went to China. I went to Sanya, and then I had my show in the Philippines.
That's right.
And you know, I messaged that, you know, say, hey Chris, I'm going to be out of the country for X amount of time, you know, yada yada yada.
Let me ask you a question before you keep going further. So after the Olympia, when you guys win the Olympia and you celebrate everything, did you ask Chris, hey, we have business to settle, how much do I owe you?
I think we were all celebrating.
Yeah, no.
So that wasn't brought up at that time. He didn't bring it up and he didn't ask.
When did this whole thing happen? So when we drove back from Vegas on Monday, I was going to Korea the following week. So we drove back, we went to Firehouse, we ate, all of us together, and then we went straight to the gym to train because I had another show to win.
Yeah.
I had a show to win.
Yeah, you won. That's right. You
So
won
we
San
went-
Marino.
No, I went to South Korea.
Okay.
And I went because I'm like, hey, Stan is still competing, so
Yeah, so
as
train.
tired as I was, I'm like, I'm going to the gym. Like, this is my team.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah,
you know,
yeah,
I'm
yeah,
going to show support. You know, I'm not Mr. Olympia right now. I'm Stan training partner.
Yeah.
You know, so
So it wasn't brought up either by you
No,
or by you.
I trained that week, left for South Korea, and you left for Prague.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then you kept going. Then I came back, qualified for the Olympia the next year. And then I was in the gym. I was training. I did a little tour also, and I went with my sponsor at the time to Dubai, and then Switzerland and France a little bit, and then came back like mid-October or so.
So at that point, you guys are still a team. As far as you're concerned, you're prepping for next year's Olympia or the Arnold, whatever. You're still together, right?
still
Yeah.
together.
Okay. So when did this whole thing kind of fell apart? Because from the way I'm sitting, you guys win the Olympia together, and next thing I know, you're not anymore. Chris is not at Golds anymore.
Well,
I don't know what's going on with you. So we need to talk about this whole thing. Chris leaving Golds and you not. What happened?
That happened later on because before that, so there was the whole how much is Sean's gonna pay Cycle.
Okay, so when was that brought up?
Like around November, the money was handed to. I handed the check from Sean to Cycle in December.
Well, how did you even know how much to?
So we're gonna get to that.
So this is for me, Olympia's over. I'm waiting for the Olympia check to be deposited in my account.
Okay, how long does that take?
I figured out how long it took.
I'm just kind of curious.
You gotta wait.
It's a big amount.
You want the check? I don't think you have the money.
Yeah,
yet.
it's like I gotta wait for the check to come. So I'm like, you know, okay, I'm gonna wait for the check to come.
It's a big
You
nut,
know,
yeah.
and Stan had a conversation with Chris. I don't understand why, because we have a three-way message that we talk about just about everything.
Mhm.
So Chris didn't go to you. He actually goes to Stan and he says what?
So there was a group message we had, because we were for time training, all these things, where Sean was asking what was his number, what was Chris' number, how much did he want for that year of
Okay.
workout, and Chris didn't say any number. I don't know what his approach was. He said later on that he was thinking of just going for dinner and just hash out something, them together. But so Sean was like, just give me your number, like what's the figure you want? He was like, for example, I'm paying this amount to Chris Aceto. That's the rate I've been paying him every year. And I remember that because Cycle got really offended by that. He was like, but if you're gonna pay me this, like, don't even bother paying me. Like, I'm worth way more money than that. Like, with all the time I'm spending, and it's true. Like, Aceto is selling a diet. He's taking care of Sean. Of course, he's a great friend. He's doing all that stuff, but he's not spending the same time that Chris spent with us in the gym on a daily basis. Yeah. So it obviously not more the same. Yeah. And so when that number was brought up, Aceto's number, just as an example, the following day I was training in the gym and Psycho came up to me and he was like, "Wow, this is crazy. You can't be paying this." And I was trying to explain to him, he's not offering you the same money. He's just telling you this is the number he has with them. This is the agreement.
I had a text message between him that said, Chris, I'm not saying that's what you're worth. I said, I'm giving you an example. Me and Chris Aceto has an agreement. This is how much I paid Chris Aceto. What's your figure?
Right.
Like, plain and simple. I have all the text messages to show that. What's your figure?
Okay.
And he get offended. He goes, I don't feel as if I need to be negotiating. I'm like, you still have not given me a figure. Yeah. We're not negotiating.
You just want to know.
I just want to know how much do I need to pay you?
And
like,
you still
how much?
And you won't tell me still.
And he still won't tell me. He got upset.
And then, so he got upset. He came up to me in the gym because we're friends. Like, until this day, I don't know why now he's saying other things, but like at this point, at least we're friends. Like Psycho and I like the guy, and he came up to me and he's like, like, how much would you pay me? I'm like, Chris, this is not my place. Like, fortunately enough, is Sean's taking care of paying you for both of us. So like, this is your, between you guys. Yeah, I don't really have a word to say. It's like, no, but like, if you were to pay me, like, what's my worth? And I'm like, this is not really my.
So he's trying to involve you in the whole.
Yeah, whatever. So because we're friends, so so I just told him, I was like, based on how much he was, because I knew how much he was paid the year prior, about $14,000, and I was like, okay, last year Sean paid you $14,000 for over 4 months of prep, knowing that you spent like 6 hours a day between driving back and forth, the time in the gym, 6 times a week,
a lot of work,
a lot of hours. I'm okay, he paid you $14,000 this year. It was only starting like 14 weeks, so it was like maybe 6 weeks less. I'm just saying number, like it was less weeks. I don't know the exact number.
And less time because you didn't have to drive.
Because now Sean was driving to LA, and then towards the end he actually ran to the place too. So he was Chris didn't have to drive back and forth.
There was more time and expenses on your side.
And only spending an hour and a half in the gym every day because
he's also training Dexter.
Because at noon it was Dexter's time, so he would leave and be like, I'm with Dexter, which is fine,
Yeah.
So, but based on this, I told him I think like maybe $12,000 seems fair. Like,
so he didn't like that way of thinking, I'm sure.
Yeah. That's why. And he was like, oh no, I'm worth more. I'm worth more. I'm like, yeah. Whatever it is, Sean is asking you your number, and that's when he told me I want $20,000. So then I was like, I told Sean, I was like, well, he told me he wants $20,000. So Sean was like, okay. And then. The next day, I could even have the message in my DM. Psycho messaged me and he was like, I was maybe a little hasty yesterday about that, the rate that he pays Aceto. Maybe I didn't get it right, but yeah, I want 5%. I think that's fair. I didn't think, I didn't want to negotiate that before because he didn't have a sponsor. I wanted to leave that out. I thought, after we win the Olympia, we'd just sit down, have a nice dinner all together, and hash out a number. And because we're friends, and I didn't want to bring that up before because he didn't have a sponsor. Don't hold this against me. And I'm like, yeah, that's fine. So then, it's like, can you relay that to Sean? I'm like, to me, it's like just weird because we have this group conversation, all three of us. But I'm like, okay, I'll relay that information to Sean. So once again, I told Sean, yeah, he confirmed again, he wants $20,000. And Sean was like, okay. So then I met up with Sean. We ate here in Oxnard. And Sean wrote me the check, wrote the check to Psycho, handed it to me, and I gave it to Psycho mid-December.
But did you ask Chris, why don't you tell Sean directly?
I have. Yeah.
And what does he say? No answer?
No.
Why?
The whole thing, because even after that, he was like, because they were going on a tour in the UK in February. Right. And he kept asking me, he's like, oh, why is Sean not getting back to me? And because there was this guy in Mexico that wanted to do a seminar or something and bring us there, and he asked Sean several times, "What's your rate?" And Sean told him, like, your
Dude,
number is my
like,
number.
team, man. Like, what are you know the number? It's your guy. I can't give you a number. Like, whatever the guy wants, whatever you negotiate, that's what we'll go with. Like, you know, it's your guy. I can't say, give me $5,000. You guys like, and you, it's your guy. So I'm not gonna like, listen. Psycho, Chris Lewis, for me, I consider as a friend. So if he's telling me, hey, listen, you know what? I have a guy that wants us to do something. I'm like, dude, like, work it out. Before we even get to that. So Stan came up, I wrote him a check at Red Robin, and I gave it to him. I was like, you know, to give to Chris. You know, so I'm good. I'm like, you want $20,000, dude? I'm gonna write you. That's what you said you want. Here you go. And I gave him the check, like, you know, no problem at all. I thought, we're good. You know, he bought a car, got it delivered to Gold's Gym, and thanked us for purchasing the car for him. We're good. Like, there's nothing between us. There's no animosity. Yeah. Like, I took 50 years before, and I still paid him. I win. I'm still gonna pay him. There's nothing between me and him. It's not a money issue. You know, I'm like, I'm gonna make sure that you get your money because this is what you want. Like, we did a great job. So everything is all squared. I negotiated a deal with my buddy Subi. I reached out to Subi, and you know, I did a tour in the UK with Chris Aceto before, and I reached out to Subi, and I was like, you know, let's do something in the UK. And he goes, I'll set it up. So he was setting up a tour for me, and I was like, I want Chris Aceto because I did before with Chris, and he goes, no problem. So then I was like, you know what? I want Psycho because he was the trainer. I don't want him to feel as if I'm just doing a tour when him and Aceto were the one that was kind of behind the scene that helped to push everything. And he goes, we work out a price. You know, I'm like, you know, they need to get this amount. I need to get this amount, and we're good. And then I was like, I need to get Stan. Well, he was like, dude, you know, trying to get the numbers and make sure everybody, you know, pays this and what's not and get. He goes, no, I don't know, but I was like, dude, I wanted the entire team, you know, to be there. He goes, bro, right now I could get you, Psycho, and Chris. And I was just like, fuck, okay. You know what? We good.
So this is something you organize after the whole 20,000. So in your head, you're like, hey, I want to.
We're good.
So there's no animosity on your end.
Dude,
you're just like, you're
there's
good.
nothing between.
Okay.
To this day, I'm like, I can't understand because I'm like, there's nothing between me and you for you to even speak bad about me. I wished him Merry Christmas. I've been in his live when he's doing stuff in his garage, fixing up cars and what's not after the Olympia and what's not. Because I'm like, dude, we're cool. Like we're boys. We family. Like
things together.
You know, there's nothing between me and you whatsoever. I'm not gonna let I'm not gonna get money come between me and anyone that I consider to be a friend. You know, so I'm like, you know, you ask for 20 grand, I give you 20 grand because that's what you said you want. We're good. We're okay.
So what did he say when you actually told him, hey, we're having this tour in England, I want you to come with us? Was he happy?
Yeah, it was great. And I mean, that text message was like, hey, bro, are you going to bring jeans or are you going to bring slacks? Are you going to bring dress shoes? And I'm like, no, I'm just going to bring like one jeans. I'm going to bring, you know, like, I talk like simple stuff. I'm going to bring some merchandise to sell. Like, dude, I've been in this tour before. It's very drooling. We spend a lot of time in the car, driving from location to location. And you could have Jay, because Jay did the same thing with Subi before. Like, you know, we driving from city to city. Sometimes it's like we get off from, you know, one seminar and it's like we have to drive 6 hours. So we spend a lot of time just sleeping in the car. Like, you know, there's no like, man, this is great. You know, the Olympia, you know, we talk about our experience training together, how long we've been training together, the Olympia prep, like everything, and then we slap. We go out to eat, we slap, and you know, that was it. For me, again, nothing wrong between me and Chris.
So how's